everyone. Welcome to this Tuesday, February 7th, 2023 meeting of the Raymore Planning and Zoning Commission. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, we will take roll. Commissioner Bowie, Commissioner Engert,
Present.
Commissioner Faulkner,
Present.
Vice Chair Pfizer is present, Commissioner Manser,
Present.
Secretary Peterman,
Present.
Commissioner Urquia,
Present.
Mayor Turnbow is not present, and Chairman Wiggins is not here. All right, we have no personal appearances tonight, so we will move on to the consent agenda. Approval of minutes from the January 17th meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that we approve minutes from our January 17th, 2023 meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, that was, my word is leaving me now. Motion, thank you. I had a motion by Commissioner Faulkner and second by Commissioner Peterman. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that's all of us, so thank you. Now we will move on to, we have no unfinished business, so we will move on to new business. Case number 23001, Willow Wind Square, Lot 2. Would the applicant please come forward, state your name and address and your case?
Donald Webb, 1615 Liege, Henderson, Nevada. First of all, I want to thank you guys all for your help and everything with this project. We're proposing to build a 6,300 square feet retail multi-tenant building in the Willow Wind Square, adjacent to the Community America Credit Union. And I'm here to answer any questions that anybody may have. And I just want to thank staff for their help in helping us get this project moving quickly.
Okay. Staff report next, and then we may call you back up for questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Webb. Good evening, Planning Commission. Tonight you have in front of you a request for site plan approval that is actually consistent of 6,300 square feet, multi-tenant building that will consist of a dental office, retail, quick serve restaurant with a drive-through, and this would propose to be located at 1310 West Foxwood Drive. Current existing zoning for this property is C2, General Commercial District. Surrounding it to the north, east, and west is also General Commercial District C2, consisting of Willow Wind Shopping Center and the Community America Credit Union. To the south is C3, our Regional Commercial District, which is actually on the south side of 58. The Growth Management Plan identifies this area as appropriate for commercial development, while the Major Street Plan classifies 58 as a major arterial road. Just a little bit of history on this area. The original plat was actually approved back in 1989, consisting of 3 lots, lots 1 through 3, and this subject property is actually lot 2. On November 17th, 2020, the Planning Commission voted to approve the site plan for Community America Credit Union, which is actually directly located to the west of the subject property. On October 10th of 2022, this City Council approved the rezoning for the, if you remember, the last remnant portion of the professional office that was then rezoned to C2, General Commercial District. A couple of items just wanted to highlight. With the uses that presented tonight, everything is either permitted by right or is permitted by right with special conditions. For example, the drive-through has some special conditions listed there in comment number 2. Parking was also addressed in this site plan proposal. 31 parking spaces were provided while 27 spaces were required. This was one of the items that we had to look at. As the dental office is a pretty shored up tenant, the retail and the quick serve is actually tentative at this point, so the square footages could change. But wanted to say that even with the quick serve, it's actually more restrictive than if we were to use like a retail that's 1 to 300 square feet. So even if somebody came in and said we're not doing a quick serve, it's going to be retail, there's still enough adequate parking. Landscaping, 20% is required, and actually 20% is what was met. One thing you'll notice that's different from normal projects, or I guess from projects along 58, is the street trees. There was none required with this project, as there's a lot of utilities, including a sanitary sewer line that run along 58, and so very similar to the Community America Credit Union, that we did not require that as well. Landscape screening requirements are not applicable in this. Everything is either similar or across from the street of 58. Pedestrian access is actually going to be off of 58. There's an existing sidewalk there, and we're just requiring construction of the sidewalk to be extended to the multi-tenant building with pedestrian stripe crossings. We also, for the site access, the primary access is going to be off 58, but then also secondary access will be from Peace Drive and Foxwood Drive. So one thing to note is that previous projects have always kind of had an issue with obtaining shared access agreements with the adjoining property owners. Those have been obtained, and so those are in place where previous projects have failed. Staff does recommend to the Planning Commission that they accept staff proposed findings of fact and approve case number 23001 Willowwind Square Lot 2, subject to the following 11 conditions. This concludes staff report.
Thank you. I'd like to state for the record that Commissioner Bowie is in attendance. Do any of the commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Faulkner?
Just a quick question for staff. I think when you actually were covering the material just a minute ago that you corrected the location of Community America Credit Union, and it's west, not south, so just to be sure that the paperwork gets corrected.
Yes, that is
too?
correct. I will correct that. Yes, sir.
That's fine. Thank you.
Commissioner Urquia?
Do we know if there are proposed tenants to occupy the space as of yet, or is it still kind of like a speculative kind of a construction?
So from what I've gathered from the applicant is there are prospective tenants for the retail and the quick serve. However, those are kind of dependent on approval tonight, and so not something that they can actually discuss tonight.
No, I understand that. I was just curious if they letters of interest.
In fact, they said normally there's not this much interest, and so they do have interest in this space. And something that was made mention is that we don't really have a whole lot of vacancy throughout the city, and so this will actually be nice to have some space available.
And along those note, that line, is the dental office space specifically for a dentist, or is that just space that could be used for something else?
That is specifically for a dental office.
Okay.
Mr. Zur, do you have a comment? Okay. Okay, Commissioner Peterman?
I have a question. I know that you went through the parking thing. My comment is, just from being around a while, seeing the shape of the normal Willowwind parking lot makes it questionable whether or not you can use the 100% of what is available, because a lot of times it's probably only 60-70% of what's available, because the rest of it's all exploded and not real able to park cars or drive through. So as long as they maintain the parking lot like it's supposed to be, but if they don't, then do we have enough parking in a safe enough area to where it'll
So
be covered?
and that was part of the staff report as well, is that if a proposed tenant comes in for one of those two spaces that are really not spoken for, is that we'll be checking to make sure that those requirements are still able to be upheld. Otherwise, that there's going to be some conversations that need to be had.
Thank you.
In addition to that, Mr. Ebert referenced the cross-access easements that were secured. I do believe within those there were provisions for the use of that parking. It's not the same, I guess, as a shared parking agreement that the city would require if the spaces within the Willow Inn Center were being counted towards the requirement for this. As Mr. Ebert mentioned, the adequate parking for the uses that were provided are located on site, but in the event that there is overflow parking, I do believe these users would have the ability to park adjacent within the overall shopping center as well.
Along that note, is this property going to be, is it owned, is the land still owned by the Willow Wind owner, or is it a separate property with a different owner?
So interestingly enough, this was under that common ownership for Willow Wind, but had been sold off. And so this is a whole nother group. This is actually not part of Willow Wind Shopping Center at all.
Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Bowie?
I want to make a motion.
Sure, go ahead.
Make a motion that we, Planning and Zoning, accept the staff proposed finding of facts and approve case number 23001, Willow Wind Square Lot 2, site plan subject to the 11 conditions, which include the 3 perpetual conditions.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Bowie, seconded by Commissioner Urquia to accept the staff proposed findings of fact and approve case 23001, Willow Inn Square, Lot 2, site plan subject to the following conditions. Does that sound right? Okay. Everyone in favor, please raise your hand. Oh, I'm sorry. Any discussion first? Thanks for that. Okay, now raise your hand if you're approval. Okay, looks like it's unanimous. Thank you. All right, we will recommend that that be forwarded on.
No, it's us.
Oh, it is just us?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yep.
I'm glad you guys are keeping me on my toes here.
We
'Cause,
just approved it.
Okay, well then, even better. Okay, then we will move on to the city council report.
Thank you, Madam
Mr.
Chair. Since your last Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, there's been one city council meeting where legislative business has taken place. That occurred on January 23rd, 2023. During the course of that meeting, there were 2 items of interest to the Planning and Zoning Commission. First one was the Edgewater at Creekmore 8th and final plat, which included 11 residential lots and 2 common tracts. This was previously approved by the Commission on the 17th of January by a unanimous vote of 9-0. The next item that was on the agenda for the City Council was the Edgewater at Creekmore 9th and final plat. Again, 11 residential lots and 2 common area tracts, previously approved unanimously at the Planning and Zoning Commission on January 17th, 2023. Both of these final plats were approved by the Planning or by the City Council for the first reading at the January 23rd, 2023 meeting by a unanimous vote. So that will have a second reading that will go forward, and we'll be able to finalize that.
Okay, thank you. Next, the staff report.
Thank you. Actually, there's going to be several items that I'm going to discuss tonight. The first is, I'm not sure if you've driven by, but if you've hit Culver's in the last week or so, you've probably seen a job trailer. Some dirt's now starting to be moved for Starbucks that was approved by this body here. February 21st is actually going to be a pretty heavy meeting. We have 5 items on the agenda. It'll be a Parkside first plat, Parkside Park first plat, Sunset Lane first plat, 163rd Street reimbursement, and the RAC will actually have an expansion proposed. So this will be a site plan amendment that you all will see in front of you on the 21st. A couple months ago, we had stated if there was any interest for the planning conference in Philadelphia. If you had any interest, definitely let us know. Ms. Pfizer has let us know that she has had interest again, and so definitely happy to extend the invite. And so that will be April 1st through the 4th, Ms. Pfizer. So, with that being said, April 4th is obviously the three of us are going to be out of town, so we will be canceling that meeting. And finally, I know you all probably have not heard much on the comp plan. That is still going on in the background. We've actually sent out an RFP to have consultants essentially bid on the project to finalize it. So this will be exciting. We're just, I think, what's the closing date? The 23rd. So we'll be reviewing.
Oh, what is the comp plan? We're all kind of like looking at each other.
So it's just like the growth management plan. So this is the complete update. This is where you want to see the city in 2045, essentially. So we had kind of given if you'll remember back to the interactive mapping and just kind of future land use. We'd done a kind of a work session on that. A lot of things have happened since then, and so we haven't really made mention of it, but definitely things are happening, and this is one of those items that we wanted to make mention of. So that will conclude staff report.
Okay, thank you. Well, we have public comments. I don't see any public, so I think we'll just move on to commission member comments. I'll start it. Oh, I'm sorry, would you like?
I got a question for staff. We had a joint session. Was there anything that came out of that joint session after, we had left? Was there anything that you guys could report or brief us on in terms of moving forward?
So I know that there was definitely high interest for moving forward with formulating a program essentially for short-term and long-term rentals. I think the biggest thing that we kind of took away from that is that we need to start the program, and the best way to do that is by formulating really a plan for how we're going to start with implementing like a registration program so that we know actually how many rentals we have in the city, and trying to gain cooperation through those property owners would be the first big step for us. As we kind of talked about through that meeting, there's 20% of our housing stock is rentals, so there's going to be a lot of people to gain participation, and so that's a big goal for us.
Okay. All right, I think I will start to my left with Commissioner Urquia.
Yeah, just thank you guys for putting that meeting together, allowing us to get together with the city council. I think it's always good to kind of touch base with them and kind of see where their minds are at in regards to P&Z and how we're doing. Appreciate all your work and excited for the developments happening around town. Thank you. And go Chiefs.
Commissioner Anger?
Just a couple of really quick questions. I'm hearing rumor that Hy-Vee may have sold the property across from CVS off of 58. Do you know whether there's any validity to that?
So the city staff has been working with a developer who has a contract on all of the land between Mott Drive and Fox Ridge. As you all may know, Hy-Vee did abandon their plans for all of their Fast and Fresh locations. Instead, they converted their Hy-Vee gas stations to Fast and Fresh Expresses. So they do own the property right now, but it is under contract from a developer that's pursuing a mixed-use project on that site. We are actively working with them on the time frame in which they will present to the city, or to the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council with their rezoning plan for that property. Yes, the Grove, they held a neighborhood meeting with Eagle Glen here a few months ago, and they're just actively working to get some contracts for some users before they propose anything to the city formally.
Other than that, thank you very much. I appreciate your information, taking good care of us.
Okay, Commissioner Faulkner?
As always, thank you to staff. Also, in today's Kansas City Star, what I would call the editorial section, but the opinion page, top of the page, article on Kansas City, and I guess I'll call them short-term rentals, but Airbnb and shoot, remind me, what's the other one? VRBO. And I scanned it, set it aside, plan to read it again. I think Kansas City's situation is somewhat different from ours, but certainly relevant given our joint meeting. So if anybody else has access to the Kansas City Star, check out today's opinion page.
Commissioner Peterman?
Thanks, staff, for all the hard work. I see a lot of dirt being moved around town, so that's good. Shows results that we probably touched somewhere along the line. So I think we're ready for growth, and it's going to be a good year. That's all I got.
Okay, Commissioner Manser?
Well, I'm sorry I couldn't make it to the joint meeting. My flight from Denver got canceled, so I had a long Monday driving back. Thank you to staff as always. Looking forward to the next meeting with all of our projects. Go Chiefs.
Commissioner Bowie?
Thank you to staff as always. Let me step back from the microphone a little bit. All right. So with today's proposal, what was in front of us, I was a little bit conflicted because of another new, nice building similar to Community America out in front of Willow Wind, which is has an old facade, 19, name the number, 73, 82, what do you guys think? Okay, so I was a little bit conflicted about it, but then I said maybe that this new, you get 2 or 3 new nice looking places out front, it might incentivize them to say, hey, let's drop, $500,000 into redoing our facade and make it look up to date. But then I said, well, maybe not, because then they're going to be reaping the benefits of all the business going to Community America and all the business going to the dental office or the retail or whatever's there. So I was a little bit conflicted about the whole thing, but in the end, I think it might be a good idea. But just the elephant in the room, is that we have these nice new-looking pieces outside of an old, rough, scruffy, still probably nice. I mean, I'm not saying it's horrible, but, in terms of the look, the overall aesthetics up and down 58, I don't know if anybody else thought about that, but I certainly did. So just wanted to put that on the record. But thanks a lot for all you guys' hard work, and it's good to see a lot of dirt being moved.
So if I could provide just some background on your question there, because I think staff would agree with the new development up front. What does that mean for what goes on with the original shopping center? There has been significant interest over the last probably 5 years of people interested in purchasing that shopping center. The individual that the applicant tonight is purchasing this lot from actually tried to buy the land on the south. They actually were the ones that purchased and sold the lot to Community America and held on to this lot. They made, I think, 2 separate offers to the owner of Willow Wind to try and do a master plan development. I know of 2 other offers that have been opposed to the owners of Willow Wind, and they, at this point, have just indicated it's not for sale. The city has proposed a couple different incentive frameworks that would help incentivize some sort of redevelopment or refreshing of that shopping center. We're doing something similar with the Pine Street Center on the other side of town as well. But I just wanted to confirm that is in the front of staff's mind. Mr. Eppert and I, Mr. Keller, working all that. The challenges we have is just the willingness for property owners to participate in that. Willow Wind, while it is old, it provides a good first space for a lot of businesses because of how affordable it is. And so that's one of the internal conflictions with staff, is that when that redevelops, that has to be paid for one way or the other. The rents go up, and so then you risk what do those other tenants do inside those spaces. All things that we try and juggle as we're looking at what growth will look like in the future. But I appreciate your comment, and just want to let you know that staff has thought about those things, and as we were reviewing this project, we were kind of thinking the same thing. A nice new building next to another nice new building. It'd be nice to continue that stuff north and south of both of those properties.
Okay, I'd just like to thank staff for keeping us prepared and informed, and to thank Commissioner Urquilla for helping me with my lack of words there, and Commissioner Faulkner for getting me on the right motion there. It's kind of tricky sometimes up here when you don't do it very often, so thank you, everyone, for your help. And that's really all I have to say, so.
Madam Chair, 1 second. There was one item that I left off the list, and I knew I'd forget it. February 16th is going to be the stakeholders meeting for the landfill. And so originally that was scheduled for to be at Creekmore Elementary, but it's actually going to be here at Centerview, so at 6 o'clock. So just wanted to
I saw something on, I think it was the Facebook page, and where you can sign up, I think, almost like RSVP that you're coming, just because there are going to be a lot, hopefully, there will be a lot of people there. I think there will be.
And there's some handouts in the lobby of City Hall here as well that have all the information on it there.
And I will note, in case you have any friends or neighbors that are interested, you probably all received a copy of the Raymore Review recently. Within that, it did mention a different date, which was the original plan, but to accommodate a couple of stakeholders that we wanted to attend, we did move it to the 16th. So if any of your neighbors or friends have questions, it is indeed on the 16th.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, with that, if anyone would like to make a motion to adjourn, I guess.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Urquia, seconded by Commissioner Mansur. All in favor, please raise your hand. With that, we are adjourned.